Welcome to Muskegon Rising, a community service project of the Muskegon Rotary Club. Our purpose is to create lasting positive change. We've been doing that here since 1916. So, let's get started.
Thank you. Hello, I am Emma Peterson, and I'm your host today on the Muskegon Rising podcast. And with me, we have Melissa Horton, who is the Executive Director of the Lakeshore Museum Center. Melissa, you've got a big job, right? I'm going to just start by just listing the sites that fall under the umbrella. So you have the Muskegon Museum of History and Science, the Muskegon Historic Sites, which are the Hackley and Hume Houses, the Fire Barn Museum, the Skolnick House of the Depression era, the Heritage Museum of Business and Industry, and the Archives and Collections. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
It's 9 rooftops.
Oh my gosh. Well, how did you come to be in your position? Why don't you tell me about that first?
So I kind of have a unicorn story at the museum.
I
actually
love
started
unicorns.
out 26 years ago as an intern. And most of the time when you intern in a museum, you're there just for a little bit of time and you do not get hired. You have to keep moving around and moving museums. And I was lucky enough that there was a job opening in the programming department. So I started out as an assistant curator of education doing programs for the community. And then over time, I went to the curator or the head of that department. And then I was just lucky enough that there was a change or an opening at a time when I was ready for
Things
a
aligned.
change. Yes.
Okay.
And very, very unusual to stay in the same organization for as long as I have. It's very unusual. So, I did director of visitor experiences, then assistant director, and then finally 3 years ago, director.
Well, you obviously must have proven yourself to be able to grow like that within an organization, I imagine, and stay in the same community. So that's awesome. You've got a long history with the museum.
Yes, and I think part of it is because I honestly love the museum and I love what we do. So it's really easy when you feel passionately about your job every day.
Right, and you can stay in the same community. Yeah, because otherwise, museums are not, it's one of those things, there's not a museum on every corner in every town. So you would really, if that weren't your career path, you would have had to bounce around quite a bit. So
I would have been moving around.
And we got to keep you.
And I'm very happy that you did.
Oh, that's wonderful. So why don't you, and I assume you started with the actual, what many of us know as the Lakeshore Museum Center on Clay there, right?
Yep.
That's the building you started in.
So when I started, it was called the Muskegon County Museum still.
Yes.
And so it was, and when I started, it was, we did have the Fire Barn Museum and the Hackley and Hume Historic Site.
Okay.
Since I started, we've added all the rest of them. So the Depression Era House, and then the Heritage Museum of Business and Industry.
Well, why don't you tell me first a little bit about the Museum of History and Science, which is the home of the Mastodon whenever people need a reference, because I think everybody knows, right? If you've been in there, you know that's where the Mastodon lives.
Yep. And so that is our museum that talks about natural history, cultural history, and science. So those are the things that we focus on. So if you want to come and see rocks and fossils and extinct animals, if you want to see current animals today, if you want to talk about the culture and why people have come to Muskegon over the last 400 years and what makes them stay in Muskegon, this is the building that you want to go to. We also have 3 hands-on rooms for families and children. And we have been doing STEM education for years, and so free STEM education for the community. And so we have our STEM center, our discovery room, and then our Body Works that kind of talks about healthy communities and what it takes to stay healthy in the community. And so I think that we serve as that children's museum piece.
Oh, yeah.
But we also serve as, the natural and cultural history for the area, too.
Yeah, I personally spent a lot of time there when my kids were little. It was just, you could go spend an afternoon, and like you said, it was free. And there was enough to keep them entertained. It was interesting. And then you have rotating exhibits, too, correct?
Yep. So we change out our temporary gallery every 6 months to a year, depending on the exhibit.
Okay.
So currently we have dinosaur bones. And so this is one that is actually for all audiences. It's not just for children, but we're seeing a lot of families and a lot of grandparents, and they actually get to come in and see actual dinosaur bones and meet the paleontologist that dug them up, because he's there he's not there every Saturday. He's there once a month, excuse me.
Okay.
And he comes in and he's actually working on Triceratops bones with the community that
how
comes in.
fun is that? And I think every family has a dinosaur lover. For me, it was my brother growing up. I just by being his sister, know about him. I know Heidi Seitzma's son, James, is a dinosaur lover. Everybody has a dinosaur lover. So I think that probably is...
I was the dinosaur lover in my
there
family.
you go. I was going to say, somebody's got one. So I imagine you'll have a lot. That'll be popular. Cool. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit about the historic sites, the homes?
So the historic sites are one of the gems of this community.
Yeah.
And they're just one of the foundation and cornerstones of being downtown Muskegon. And so we get the honor of taking care of them every day. And they, telling the story of Charles Hackley and Thomas Hume and how this community really got its footing to become the community that it is today is something that we get to do with visitors all year long. So we see people from all over the United States and the world that come to see these homes. They're considered one of the finest remaining Victorian Queen's Anne architecture style that you can visit. And the woodwork in them, it's just amazing. Every time I go in there, even though it's been 26 years, I can see something different and something that I've missed. There's just so much.
And they really are an anchor to our downtown, right? I mean, people know about them. They know what they are. They know, okay, well, I'm this far from the Hackley home. And then you do different holiday type tours and seasonal things too?
Yep, we have all kinds of different programming. So during the touring season, we kind of focus on just the regular programming. And we do our escape room, Escape Hackley's Attic in the evenings. And then during the summer, we'll do after dark tours, flashlight tours. A lot of times people just want to see the houses from a different perspective, especially people who've been on the regular tour. So this gives them those opportunities. And then our programming is really strong there. They just got done with Live Clue. I think we're in our 4th year of it, where we have, you're playing live action with our staff in the rooms, and you have to figure out who committed the murder with what weapon. And we also do an obituary tour where we focus on Victorian grieving and mourning practices and funeral practices. And so that was the time period of the houses. And there were quite a few funerals that were held inside those homes, including Mrs. Hackley's. And so we recreate that, and we play the piano with the music that was played. And we have images of what the room looked like. So we can take people back in time, and we can explain why they did things and what was important to them.
I have always appreciated the creativity that the museums have as far as how to expand the uses of these spaces and these historic sites. The Clue, the escape room, it's one thing to give tours. Of course, it's really important, and that's the meat of what the site is. But how else can we activate the space? I've always thought that was really neat, and you guys do a great job at that.
Thank you. One of the things that we want to continually do is give people reasons to come back.
Yes.
We don't want to hear that, I took that tour 20 years ago, so I've been there. So we want to constantly give our community different reasons and different opportunities to come back and experience it in different ways.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
Coming from me. And this is, it's primarily volunteer-led, right?
Yep, we do
a lot of the work.
We do have, we have a great number of volunteers that give these tours, but we do have paid staff in the summer season. So we do have interpreters that we're between 5 and 10 that we hire a year that we specifically train to do tours as well.
Okay, that makes sense. And you guys just did a pretty neat fundraiser, right, for these sites?
Yes.
Just mention that, because I thought that was another really creative way to raise dollars.
So, of course, they're old houses, so we always need money. They're falling apart faster than we can fix them, so we're constantly finding creative ways, like you said. So we just did a shingle signing party. And what that was is we're re-roofing the Hackley house, and they're going to be cedar shake shingles. Actually, it just finished up yesterday, so it's done. But what we did is we allowed people to come in and buy a shingle to help us pay for the roof, and they got to write a message on the back of it. And then working with our roofing company, they put them all up there, flipped over, and then they did a drone picture of them.
Oh, so cool.
Before they turned them back over to permanently fix them. So that is going to be like a little time capsule for the group that does the roof the next time. Oh. So those messages and memories. So it was really fun.
Nice job.
Thank you.
I love it. Okay, another thing I want to talk about, which is in your list of things that fall under the umbrella, is the Heritage Museum, which I know that was created by volunteers. Ann and Alan Dake put a lot of heart and soul into that. It's an amazing space. I'm always shocked by how big it is. From the front on Western Avenue, you think you're just going into a little old building, and you get in there and it's, 3 floors, I think?
3 floors. It's massive.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that and how that came to be with the museum.
So Ann and Alan did an amazing thing. They put together a beautiful museum with all volunteer labor. And it is, like you said, it is just 3 floors of all of our businesses and industry in Muskegon. So how it came to be part of the Lakeshore Museum Center is they wanted to retire again. So they had jobs, they had careers in education. Yep. Then they came and they started this museum. And so they were getting to the point where they were looking for somebody that would partner with them to carry on their vision. And so that was us.
It was a perfect fit.
It was. The collection, is the same as our collection. It's all Muskegon County businesses and industry. So it fits our mission. And it is just, they have such a unique collection down there too. So it was the perfect fit. And you go in there and like you said, you're amazed. You walk past the front door and you go back to the machinery hall and just look up and see how many floors. And we cover almost every business historically and contemporary that have been in Muskegon. So we can tell those stories. There's so many things that were invented in Muskegon that people don't realize.
Yes.
Muskegon, it's definitely always been on the cusp of invention and reinvention. And so being able to, show the very first Raggedy Ann doll, a Spacelander bike, having the giant wheel, steam engine wheel, run a line so people can understand how that used to work in the factories.
The Brunswick pin setter, right?
Setter,
yeah.
Yes. How does that even work? You can actually see into the machine and see how it picks up those pins and resets them. It's a very amazing experience. And it's got a different feeling and smell and sound when you go in there.
Oh, absolutely.
It's noisy, a little noisy because you got the machines running. It's got that grease and oil smell that I love so much. And there's just a feeling that you get when you walk in there that I think a lot of people remember and want to go back to.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to make sure that people know that exists and that it's on Western Avenue. And I certainly know lots of people visit every year, but I still think, in my mind, I think it's a little bit of a hidden gem.
I think so too.
Okay. Now, I want to move on to, I think, what is probably one of the most important pieces of your work, and certainly it's part of each museum, but collections, archiving, preservation. And to do that, I thought we could start off with a game. Does that sound good? Okay.
Sure.
Because I love a good game. Okay. I'm going to name an item that potentially someone could bring to you, and you're going to say, no, sorry, we're just not interested, or interested, or jackpot. If it's something you really want, you've been looking for, and you think is a great thing for us to hang on to as part of Muskegon's history.
So before you start, we do have guidelines when it comes to people giving us things. And so a lot of people don't know that. So that is going to be part of why I base my answer.
Okay.
So our mission is, you're right, it is to collect and preserve. That is, the core of what we do and why we exist. And then to educate with those things that we have. And so we focus on Muskegon County. So it has to have a tie to Muskegon County, and it has to have a story that resonates in Muskegon County. So just
fair enough.
Just to say.
Yes. So you're not just being mean when you say no. It's just you can't take everything, and it's got to fit with what you do.
Yep.
I understand. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. We'll go through it quickly. Okay. My great-grandparents' Muskegon County marriage license from 1925.
Interested.
Okay. Antique photos of some random unknown people that I found at an estate sale. Nope. Okay. A Hackley Chase piano.
Nope.
Oh.
And you might be wondering why, but we have a lot of Hackley Chase pianos already.
Okay, that makes sense. Also, they're large, and people probably are looking for homes for pianos all the time.
All the time.
Yes.
We probably get a request at least twice a month.
Okay, all right, so that's a no. Arrowheads that I found in the sand dunes.
Absolutely interested.
Okay. A Shaw Walker file cabinet.
Nope. Same reason as a piano. We got a lot of those.
Okay. Hackley's Gold.
Jackpot. If you can find Hackley's Gold, I will take that.
Hackley's
Gold, yes, I'm sorry. We will take that all the time.
Okay. What about an original newspaper clipping from 1945 about an important Muskegon community event?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How about last thing? Here we go. A dinosaur egg.
Nope.
Okay. Tell me, just because I got the giggle, tell me why it's so funny that I suggested a dinosaur egg.
We have a lot of people bring dinosaur eggs into the museum.
Okay.
And they're usually just rocks. In Michigan, there's not been any dinosaur bones or eggs or anything found because of the glaciation that happened. Those glaciers crushed and ground up and pulverized those layers.
Yep.
So it's not that we didn't have dinosaurs in Michigan. We just don't know what they were there. So when they bring me a dinosaur egg that they found in their backyard, I usually have to disappoint them and say, I'm sorry. But it's a really cool rock.
Yeah, you should definitely display this rock in your home somewhere. Okay, well, cool. That was fun. But in all seriousness, if someone does have something that they think is relevant that you're interested in that meets the guidelines that you mentioned to us, how do they go about? I'm sure there's info on your website.
Yep.
But
you can just go ahead and call the museum and contact the museum, and then we'll walk you through the process.
Okay.
There is definitely a process. We cannot, we physically don't have the space to take everything. And we don't take things that we already have in our collection unless it has a better story or it's in better condition than
that
the
makes
object
sense.
that we have. So it comes down to space. We're just out of space right now. So we'll walk you through the process, and there's a committee that meets of board and staff, and they kind of vet everything. And then we'll go through the legal paperwork with you if we decide to accept it.
Okay, wonderful. Well, and speaking of running out of space, you, I think, if I'm correct, you did a pretty big digitization.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Digitization.
Mike would not like me for not saying that word correctly. Digitization project with these archives, right? Recently?
Yep. So we have been going through, and if you go to our website, you can access our public portal, and we have been uploading thousands and thousands of things so that you can search our collection online. So anybody from anywhere in the world can go ahead and search and see what we have both in the archives and in the collection center. We don't have everything on yet. It's going to take us years.
Of course.
But we've been working very hard for the last 5 years and getting as much online as we can.
Fantastic. And just the long-term accessibility and space, like you said. So, okay, so we've talked a little bit throughout about volunteers. We talked about a fundraiser, but you guys have an interesting mix of how you're funded, correct? How your operations are funded. So just mention, just for the curiosity of our audience.
Yep, so we're a mixed bag of tricks. We do have a countywide millage that goes up for renewal every 10 years. That's about a third of a mill. And that provides funding for us to stay open for free at the History and Science Museum for our public, to provide all of our community schools free programming. And so that's the bulk of it. And so then besides that millage, we do grant writing, we do, private philanthropy, we do campaigns, for specific things. So we do all the things that you have to do to try to scrape it up and make your budget work at the end of the day.
As a lot of nonprofits do, right? But the
every
millage
nonprofit.
piece is interesting, I think,
Yes.
too, that you can have that partnership of public and private dollars.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like the community has always supported us. We were built for the community by the community, and then that millage shows that we're got the continued community support.
Yep. And then you also offer memberships, right? And your memberships, I know, which might be confusing to people because it's free to get in, but the membership is a way to support the museum, but there's some additional perks that I think are pretty great, too.
Yeah, so yes, we do rely heavily on membership. And one of the things that we try to do is give you more bang for your buck for your membership. So, in talking to people that like to come to museums like to go to a lot of different museums. And so we've been working really hard with our local West Michigan community and doing reciprocal memberships. So this month, I think you can use your Lakeshore Museum Center membership, and you can go and get into the Air Zoo and Kalamazoo for free, or the John Ball Zoo. It's the zoo month. And so we've partnered with our local museums, we partnered with Holland, we partner with Grand Rapids, and we reciprocate. So their members can come to our organization for free during that month.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and it works really well because everybody wins.
Yep, absolutely. And people like to feel like they're getting value sometimes in addition to being generous.
Yes.
So that's fantastic. And then I guess because it's coming up soon, and hopefully this is timely as far as this podcast goes, but the Lumber Barons Ball, which again, when I talked earlier about the creativity, your themes every year, they're so interesting. I remember going to the steampunk themed one, 10 years ago. It was fantastic in the Hackley building downtown. But tell me about this year's Lumber Barons Ball.
So usually our theme comes from whatever our temporary exhibit is. Okay. And right now it's dinosaur bones. So it is going to be Lumber Barons Ball presents Paleozoic Museum. And so it's all dinosaur themed. And you can dress up if you want. There's no rules for our fundraisers. Sure. You can come however you want. But the Museum of History and Science is going to be transformed. It won't look like the museum that you normally see in the daytime. It's going to be transformed into, there might be a safari tour with dinosaurs on it. There's going to be the Bedrock Bar and the Tree Star Bar. The food is all going to be themed dinosaurs. And so it's just a really fun time. We just get together and people that support us just hang out and just have fun.
And it's October 5th?
It's October 5th,
okay.
Yep. And tickets are on sale right now through our website.
Okay, wonderful. Is there anything that I have forgotten to ask you that you really want to make sure that we touch on? And if not, that's okay. That just means I'm a really great host.
You are a really great host.
I'm just kidding.
I would just say that, keep an eye on us. Pay attention to us. We're doing a lot of different things, especially with our facilities upgrades that we've been working on. Please drive by the Hackley House and see that beautiful roof. I say that's where Hackley's Gold is at. Right now, that cedar is brand new. That copper is brand new. It looks amazing.
Sparkling.
Next spring, you'll see the other two roofs being worked on. And then we're going to start porch work. A lot of the porches are crumbling on us. So we're going to be restoring all of those. So just pay attention. It's fun to see what's changing, what's new. We have a lot of different museum sites, and something's happening at all of them all the time.
That's wonderful. And I just think it's so great. I think as a community too, Muskegon, we're all working really hard to make Charles Hackley proud, right?
Yes.
Taking care of all these special places that he left for us and that he so generously gave to us. And we're trying to generously maintain those. And so thank you for doing your part with that also.
Thank you.
Okay, last question. And I know this is probably kind of like asking if you have a favorite kid, but do you have a favorite site, a favorite program? What's your absolute favorite thing about the museum or your work?
I get that question a lot, like which one is your favorite?
Okay,
and you're
okay.
right. I just say they're all unique and different and special. I really don't have a favorite. There's something about each one that I love. But I would say my favorite thing about my job is honestly, no matter which museum I'm in, when you watch the visitors, no matter what their age is, and you see them experience the past and the history and the artifacts and the things that we provide, and you see that awe and wonder on their face, that's what keeps me going every day. Because when I go to museums, I feel that same awe and wonder. And that just, it's just so inspirational to me that, we're keeping the past so that it doesn't disappear. And that there are people out there that appreciate that.
That's a great answer. Because when you can do your work and somebody is excited about the work you do, that's like, check,
Yep.
I'm in it for the long run.
Yep, it makes you, every day you get up and you think, okay, what's today going to bring and who am I going to meet today and what are we going to talk about? It's something new every day.
Well, awesome. This has been a great talk. Thank you for sitting down with me. Thank you to the Muskegon Rotary Club for putting this together and to Mike Vogus for doing this week after week. We love being able to talk to people that are doing great things in our community. So again, I'm Emma Peterson. Thanks for joining me. Melissa Horton with Lakeshore Museum Center.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.